Hello everyone, and welcome to World History 150, World History up to about the year 1500. My name is Joel Jewin, and I'm going to be your instructor for the semester. And this is just a little brief tutorial video here to just walk you through some of the basics of the class, how it's going to work, and sort of walk you through the first 3 weeks or so, just so you can sort of get your bearings going into the semester. This is a summer class, so it's sort of a condensed class. It's not going to be as many weeks as a normal fall or spring semester class would be. So we're going to be moving at a pretty rapid pace, so I definitely want to make sure that we're all on the same page moving forward. So first things first, you're going to access our site. Best way to do that is go into Muskegon Community College's main site here and go up to the My MCC portal right up here. And that will bring you into where you can put in your username and your password, and you can then log in. And if you scroll down here, there should be a list of the different online classes that you currently have available. And ours is going to be right down here, 150 2016 SU S01 with my last name Jewin right there. Obviously, you're probably not going to have quite as many classes I have listed here. Just so you know which one to access. So clicking on that will bring you to sort of our main page here for the class. Navigation for most of the class is going to occur right over here on this little side toolbar that I'm scrolling over. I'll just go through the tabs sort of one at a time, and we'll discuss what's going on with all of them. First off, the announcements tab. If there's ever any announcements that I'm going to be posting online for the class in general, this is where I'm going to post them. In general, however, I usually don't use this tool a whole lot. If I want to get information out to the class, I'm going to be emailing you. So that's why it's very important for this class to be checking your email on a regular basis, because that's going to be my primary method of contact with you. And I will be sending you several emails throughout the semester. And there's often going to be some pretty important information in there. Reminders for upcoming assignments and deadlines, announcing extra credit opportunities, and so forth. So I would say make sure that you are checking your email kind of at least 3-4 times a week, if not on a daily basis. And that's also going to be your primary way of contacting me too. If you'd like to get a hold of me, emailing me is going to be the most effective way to do that. I do check my email multiple times each day, so I should be able to get back to you in a fairly short amount of time. Course information here is going to really sort of where the meat and potatoes of the course begin. So if we click on that, that shows us some of the kind of the basic information that you're going to need for the class. First and most importantly, there's a copy of the class syllabus. If you can click on that right down here, they'll bring you to a PDF of the syllabus. And the syllabus is very important because that really goes in detail as far as everything the class is going to contain, learning objectives, what we're going to be doing on a weekly basis. There's a copy of the class schedule in there, and really anything that you're going to need to know, any questions you might have, there's a fairly good chance that looking at the course syllabus is going to be able to answer all of those. So make sure, pretty much before you do anything in class, you go through, you read the syllabus so you have a pretty good understanding of what we're going to be doing. There's also going to be a quiz on the syllabus during the first week, and I'll show you how to access that in a moment here. But very important that you read and are familiar with the syllabus, because that's really kind of the contract between myself and the students. So all the policies and everything like that is outlined in the course syllabus. It's like 9 pages long. I know it's kind of dense and heavy reading, but it's important to at least once kind of go through it and make sure you're familiar with everything that's in there. Second is a copy of the class schedule. And the class schedule really goes through on a week-by-week basis and tells you exactly what is due each week. It has the dates, it has the chapters, and so forth. Lets you know when our tests are. So if you ever want to know what's going to be happening during a given week, the class schedule is where you're going to want to go for that. As I said, there's also a copy of the class schedule incorporated in with the class syllabus. Third down is course assessments and policies. And really this takes a lot of the information that's in the syllabus. So the syllabus is pretty dense as far as having all kind of the rules and regulations in it. And this is just sort of a quick reference guide to you. If you ever want to just check on something real quick, it gives you all the information about the weekly quizzes, when they were due, for example, weekly quizzes and PowerPoints. are always going to be due on 11:59 p.m. on Sundays. You can find that information here, how many points they're going to be worth, and all the basic requirements. So if you just want sort of a quick answer to something, there's a fairly good chance you'll be able to find it in the reminders and policies section here. Down here, there's just some faculty information about my name, about my email address. I do also have my phone number listed here. All I ask is that you limit your calls between 10 a.m. and 8 p.m. Once more, emailing me is a fairly effective way of communication, but if you feel more comfortable giving me a call on the phone, that's just fine too. And it doesn't have to be a super serious matter. If it's just that's your preferred method of communication, that's okay with me. So, as I said, pretty much any time between 10 a.m. and 8 p.m., give me a call. If I don't pick up right away, feel free to leave a message, and I will get back to you as soon as I can. And then finally down here, there is an academic calendar, which you can click on. That just brings you to the school's academic calendar, just to make sure you know when the beginning days are, breaks, anything like that that might be listed here is listed under the academic calendar. So that is in-course information, like I said, kind of the guidelines for the class. The majority of where the learning is going to be taking place is in this little tab down here called Learning Modules. And when you go into Learning Modules, you will see that on a weekly basis, this is where you can go to access all the assignments and all the information for the course. First of all, you go to the little Start Here tab. There's some basic information here, another link to the syllabus, a copy of this tutorial is going to be listed here, as well as some reading and study tips are all listed here in the little Start First tab. Starting then with week 1 is really where you're going to be getting the majority of the work starting up. And week 1 runs from, take a look here, May 16th up to May 22nd. So everything that's listed in here for week 1 is going to be due on May 22nd. So make sure you're keeping that in mind. First of all, there's going to be a syllabus quiz, as I said, giving a quick quiz on the syllabus as far as some of the more important information in there, just to make sure that you are familiar and aware of it. Also, there's going to be an introduction assignment, which is just going to ask you to provide me a little bit of information about yourself, your educational goals, your background, and just kind of what you're hoping to get out of this course, just so I get to know a little bit of who is in my class and who I'm going to be engaging with for the semester. I do give an introduction, a more detailed introduction of myself in my introduction PowerPoint, which is right up here at the top, so you'll be able to learn a little bit about me as well. And finally, every week I'm going to be posting links to a YouTube series known as the Crash Course World History series, which are some pretty entertaining videos which sort of do a really good job of summarizing a lot of what we're going to be covering in our discussions within the chapters and the PowerPoints every week. So there's not going to be like a quiz specifically on these, but I definitely recommend that you take a look at them because they're pretty entertaining and give a lot of historical information as well. So introduction PowerPoint, go up and take a look at that. So every week there are going to be a PowerPoint that I'm going to have listed here. For example, the first one is going to be Introduction and a PowerPoint on the Paleo and Neolithic eras. To access those, you could just click on this link here and you can then open it up in PowerPoint. There should also be an option to just download it, open it up yourself, or open it up here through the site. After then reading or looking at the PowerPoint, throughout the PowerPoint you'll notice that there are a number of questions detailed or highlighted in red throughout the PowerPoint. Keep note of those, and you also might just want to pull the PowerPoint up and then go into the PowerPoint questions, which is listed right down here, because you are going to then answer those questions here in the PowerPoint questions by clicking on those. So there'll be a question about the information in the PowerPoint, then click on the PowerPoint questions to answer those. I've also included a rubric, which is essentially just an outline of the guidelines that I use when I grade your PowerPoint questions, so you know exactly what it is that I am looking for. For example, all your answers to all my PowerPoint questions need to be 35 words or more in length. Anything under that will not receive credit for your answer. So make sure you take a look at that because it'll give you everything that I'm looking for to make sure you're getting full points on the PowerPoint questions each week. Each week there's going to be 5 PowerPoint questions. At certain points during the semester there are going to be multiple PowerPoints. For this week there is just one, but sometimes there might be 2. However, there's still only between those 2 PowerPoints going to be 5 total PowerPoint questions spaced out between the two PowerPoints. So when you go into the PowerPoint questions, there'll still only be 5 questions listed there that you need to answer. But you might need to look at different, the 2 different PowerPoints in order to answer those questions. As I said, those are going to be due each week, Sundays, 11:59 p.m. But you can certainly turn them in earlier during the week as well. Hopping back then to the rest of week 1, the only other thing I haven't gotten to yet is the discussion questions. And every week we're going to be having some discussion questions. Usually these discussion questions are going to be pertaining to reading primary source documents, which is outlined in the syllabus, and answering some questions about those and then discussing those questions with the rest of the class. There's not going to be a primary source discussion for the first week, so instead I've included a discussion just kind of introducing yourself to the rest of the class and helping you get a little bit more familiar with the way that the discussion board works and how that operates. So you can always click on the link here, which will bring you right to the discussion board. You can also click on discussions to bring you into the discussion board as well. Discussions will bring you to the general outline, which will show you all the different weeks. Whereas if we go back here to where we were, if you click on the one listed in the Learning Modules tab, it will bring you directly to the question for that particular week, which is this week, the introduction. So as I said, you can go through, look at my posting here. We'll ask you the questions that you will need to answer. As I said, for the first introduction assignment, it's just going through and telling me and the rest of the students a little bit about yourself, giving a little bit of background. So we all kind of get to know each other because these are the people we're going to be corresponding with throughout the rest of the semester. So it's a little nice way to get started. Once you are in the discussion thread here, I'll show you how to go ahead and answer. As you can see, there's an easy reply option here. I would like you, however, to not use that when answering my questions. The easiest way is going to be going back here into where you saw the thread being listed in the forum for week 1, introduce yourself. And then for your answer, go up here and hit create thread. By doing that, we'll bring you to this little page where you can then post your answer down here. And under subject, I would just like you to post your name. For example, I am Joel Jewin, and this is my answer. When you're done with your answer, then you will hit submit. As you can see, then it will bring your name up here as a separate folder where people can then go in to your specific answer and respond to your answers there. So it's going to make it a lot easier for you to first post your answer to my question, which is always going to be listed down here. Author is always going to be Joel Jewin. The first, it's always going to be the bottom listed on the discussion thread. And then you'll be able to go and access other students' responses to then comment on what they have answered. So that is how the discussion board is going to work and how you access those. So very easily within the learning modules, in the weekly folders, in discussion questions, and then right to week 1. Also then during the normal weeks, and I'll be showing you this in weeks 2 and 3, you will also see in this section the primary sources that you're going to be reading to answer the questions for that week listed here as well. So that's week number 1, a lot of kind of basic introduction material, which sort of gets us all on the same page. Week 2 is really when we're going to start picking things up, when the first quizzes are going to happen and the first primary source discussion questions. So you see week 2 here between May 23rd and May 29th. So we'll go ahead and access that. As you can see now, we're going to have quizzes on chapters 1 and 2 from our textbook. Traditions and Encounters, Volume 1. Should be the 6th edition, should be the one that you have and the one that you are using. So make sure you read chapters 1 and 2 before you take the quiz, and make sure you do that then before May 23rd. May 29th, I apologize. Yes, May 29th for week 2. Also then you will see for PowerPoint, you'll be able to look at our next PowerPoint on the Ancient Near East, and then clicking on PowerPoint questions week 2, be able to answer those. We have a crash course video down here, and of course a link to the discussion questions for week 2. And you see now here we have the primary source being listed, where you can then click on that to then read the primary source. Week 1 we'll talk about the Epic of Gilgamesh as well as Hammurabi's law codes. And then of course, just like before, you can click on the Week 2 primary source discussion questions to bring up that thread, clicking here for then the questions that I'll be asking about that particular primary source. I'm also going to include a copy of the primary source right here in the discussion thread. So if you don't want to just come in that way to do it, it'll be very easy to access. So multiple ways that you can access the document. The questions are always going to be then right here in the discussion post. Also, reminders can be due on May 26th. That's the biggest difference between week 1 and week 2. Reading discussion questions, when you give me your answers, have to be due in on Thursdays of each week. Mostly everything else is always going to be due on Sundays, as far as quizzes, PowerPoint questions, and your answers or your responses to other students' answers are all going to be due on the 29th. But your original answers to my discussion questions are always going to be due on Thursdays. And if you go back and look under the learning modules, I do have that indicated. See, primary source discussion answers due May 26th, which is going to be the Thursday, whereas May 29th is that Sunday. So your original answers are due by Thursday. The main reason that I have those due on a different day is just so that everyone can then have a chance to look at everyone else's answers before choosing who and how they would like to respond. If I don't have a requirement like that in there, unsurprisingly, a lot of times what a vast majority of the students will do is wait until Sunday, usually later in the day, to post their answers, which then gives students very, very little time to actually read each other's answers and kind of post and communicate in any kind of meaningful way. So that's why the discussion answers are going to be due a little bit earlier in the week. And once more, how to access those, go into the Week 2 folder, primary source discussions, Week 2 primary source. That'll bring you right there. Alternatively, you can always go into discussions, head down to Week 2, and then head right on in there. Once more, to reply then to this, you will go back to discussions, click on Week 2, and then create thread for your answer. Type in your name, post your answers to the discussion questions, and so forth. Also make sure that you take into account the specific requirements for discussion questions as well. If you'll take a look in here, there's also going to be a link to the primary source rubric, which, just like the rubric I have listed for the PowerPoint questions, is going to tell you exactly what I am looking for and exactly how you're going to be graded and the specific requirements you are going to have to meet in order to get full credit for posting your answers to the primary source questions. For example, your answers to my questions need to be at least 200 words in length. You have to use specific examples from the primary sources when answering the questions, as well as a few other qualifications as well. So make sure you take a look here at the primary source rubric in order to get a better idea of that. Also, in the resources tab, there's a link to the various rubrics as well. So primary source rubric, PowerPoint rubric, as well as a tutorial here on viewing feedback that I leave for you. I'm also going to include that in an email I send out after the first week, just to kind of bring everyone up to speed and make sure you all know how to access the feedback that I'm going to be leaving to the various assignments that you are turning in, primarily to your PowerPoint discussion questions. That is what I like to comment on. Sometimes I might make some general comments as far as the discussion questions go, but your primary or your PowerPoint questions are where I'm going to be leaving a lot of individual feedback for you. As you can see, then week number 3 is going to follow a very similar model to week number 2. You're going to be answering the PowerPoint questions. There's going to be the primary source discussion questions, as well as a quiz on the weekly reading, as well as a couple crash course videos. So by now you should be pretty familiar with all of that. So I've gone through a number of the tabs so far. Learning modules, very important. Discussions, bring you right to the discussion board. Resources has some of those sort of extra information about class aspects in there. You can click on extra credit. And this is where I'm going to be posting any extra credit assignments that might come up. None are available at this point in time. You're not going to be able to see these listed here, but I'll be opening them up as the semester goes along. So whenever I send you out an email informing you that there's an extra credit option available, you can just go and click on the extra credit tab here for information on how to complete those extra credit assignments. As far as these tools down here, My Grades, is where you're going to be able to go to access the grades and the feedback that I leave you on your assignments. Make sure you have everything turned in and so forth. Tools and help, I'm not going to go into those, as those are something that are, you can kind of investigate those on your own, some kind of various options that you have on your end. But I think I've kind of gone through and covered the majority of what the class is going to be entailing throughout the first 3 weeks, and it's going to be very formulaic from there. As far as every week, we're going to be having relatively the same type of assignments due. Obviously, the information is going to be different each week, and the themes that we're going to be discussing are going to be different. But the format's going to be very similar. So once you get into the hang of things, it should go pretty smoothly. If you have any questions on the tutorial here, accessing the class, anything about the discussions or your answers, feel free to email me at any time and let me know. And I'm always more than happy to get back to you in a very, very quick manner. So thank you all for viewing this tutorial. I hope you have a great semester. I hope you enjoy learning about the fascinating history of our world, and I look very much forward to getting to know you all better and interacting with you this semester. Well, thank you very much.